guys! Okay, so I really want to tell you guys this really crazy story, and I don't know how to go about it, but you just need to like listen up, okay? Before we get started, I just want to let you know that I'm not using their real names. We're just going to tell this story, and I don't know the whole backstory that well, behind the scenes and all that. I'm just going to tell you about the surface and what it really looked like, because wow, this is insane. Couple days ago, I heard one of my old best friends wasn't doing too well. So I decided to go ahead and give him a call and see how he's doing and maybe meet up with him and talk about things. My friend's name is gonna be Gary. We're gonna call him Gary. So after hours of waiting for Gary to finally come through and hang out, he finally tells me everything that has been going on. And to start it off, the gist of it all is he broke up with his girlfriend, who we're gonna call Emily. We're gonna call her Emily. And he basically broke up with her because he's hearing from a lot of different people that she cheated on him. Now, some of you that might seem surprising, or to some of you that's just a normal thing that happens in relationship. And now they're not the kind of couple that would actually talk things out. They're more kind of like the ones that will argue and fight each other. I'm sure at some point though there was some kind of good communication, because he did ask for some space. Now, normally that would be the safest way to go about things. Get some space, both of you clear your heads, tackle it, and come back to the conversation later when you're like more situated and ready to sit down and talk about this. But that really wasn't the case. She decides that she wants to go out after just one day of them being separated, one day and taking some space from each other, to go ahead and hang out with all these guys. And that's not even the crazy part about it. She now has these guys, whoever they are, start messaging Gary and harassing him. And on top of that, she's also messaging him and starting to call him and just would not stop. This has been happening throughout the rest of the day. It even actually happened throughout the whole day on the next day too. Gary had slept over my house, and at like 7 in the morning, she was still calling, and she had some other guy still texting him, still harassing him at the same time. I'm trying to sleep. Gary's trying to sleep. Why are we getting so many phone calls? I literally had to take the phone while Gary was asleep and just put that thing on mute, because I just couldn't. It got out of hand. It got to the point now where apparently the guy that was texting Gary, we didn't even know if it was really a guy or not, because at one point it talks like a guy, because out of nowhere he's trying to fight Gary, and then at another moment it's acting like he's asking weird questions like, do you still love your ex? And then I'm over here thinking like, okay, that's gotta be your ex actually pretending to be a guy, trying to like get information out of you, because one moment you're trying to fight, next moment you're like, we're talking about emotions. Guys don't do that when they're about to fight. They don't care about that. And then we're like, okay, so it's her the whole time. But then it was confusing because it went back to the same thing during the text messages as if it was a guy after the phone call was over. I mean, all they did was argue on the phone, and then he hung up on her because he didn't want to talk to her. And then Gary's back to dealing with like a fight that's gonna happen out of nowhere. I don't get it. So I finally start to figure out that it is a guy texting, but he's afraid to actually use his voice and talk on the phone. So he would ignore when we called to find out who he is, when we started calling and stuff. We only got calls when she was the one on the phone talking, and he was just the one texting on that number. And we did try to block these numbers and block these calls, but we just couldn't figure out how to do it. The whole thing was a mess. If you guys know how to block not just calls and not just text, but both on a Samsung Galaxy S7, I think it is, please let me know. Give me some like instructions so I can like send it to Gary and we can handle this, because I'm pretty sure this is still going on now. I'm not with Gary now, but I'm pretty sure this is still going on, or she's still bothering him. Like, it's crazy. It's lit up in here right now. I mean, it doesn't make sense at all. At one moment she's like trying to fight with him, and then at the next moment and she's trying to like get back together with him and like fix everything, and she's like bouncing back and forth. I don't know what's going on. Like, I can't keep up with this. I don't know if you would be able to, but I can't keep up with this. And then she supposedly heard out of nowhere from who, I don't know, that when I was with Gary on day one, the night before, we went to a friend's house, and she heard that Gary went to a hotel party with a bunch of girls there. And I'm just sitting there like, what? I'm like, alright, I know Rebecca's house is really nice, but I never would have thought it was a hotel. And I'm pretty sure it was just me, Gary, Rebecca, and Emily hanging out. And it was all just like a little meeting, a little gathering to give Gary advice and to let him know not to go back to his ex. So if that's a party, it was lit. But that was no party. That was no hotel. So I think she needs to get her sources checked, because I think her sources are just trying to start like a lot of BS and cause more issues. It's always other people saying things that seem to be causing this relationship to break. I want to say the relationship's already a mess on its own. And then on top of that, since she heard about this whole hotel thing that's obviously fake, she gets mad because he's apparently hanging out with a bunch of girls or whatever. Meanwhile, she has this guy harassing Gary, threatening Gary, talking to Gary, saying that he's been hooking up with Gary's ex and all this other stuff. How are you gonna have a guy message your ex telling him he's hooking up with you and you're hanging out with this guy, but you're gonna get mad that Gary's hanging out with his friends? You're gonna get mad he's hanging out with girls. Meanwhile, you're possibly hooking up with this guy, but on top of that, you definitely are hanging out with this guy, so you're being really hypocritical in the first place. Now, there is more to this story. There is more of the backstory that I remember or don't know, and there's probably gonna be more about this going on in the future. I'm gonna end this here because I can go on forever, but if you all wanna know anything more, I'll get into it. If there's any new things to talk about, if there's anything else you want to know, put it down in the comments below. Tell me what you think of this kind of video, because I really felt like talking about it, and I'm not really good at telling stories, but I tried my best to like give you all what's going on right now, the gist of what just happened. But that's it for today's video. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I love you guys, and I'll see you guys next time. I'm Joey. Peace out.